Welcome guys to my channel. Today I have a very interesting talk to share with you. It's the future of Bitcoin and several other cryptocurrencies, and it's really help you see things from the proper perspective. This video is not to take on Bitcoin. It's not a hate against Bitcoin. It's not to suggest financial stuffs. This is just setting facts, and if we look from the other side, we could find possible solutions to these stuffs. So I'm talking about the Bitcoin, the failure and the success. Bitcoin has been very revolutionary. For the first time, you can transfer something of value from one person to another. That has been good. But what are some of the problems, and what could make Bitcoin doom or other similar cryptocurrencies that are following the path of Bitcoin? Because many of these people are following the path. Many of investors are also following the path. One of them is the consensus problem. Now you already know the consensus problem, and you know the impact it has on the environment. Now you will have to choose between many things, like is this consensus, is it fast? The other thing again, okay, what are the pros and the cons of using this? Now, will you argue that it's immutable, you can change it, is this and that? But we have to look at two sides and see if this thing is really sustainable in the future. So we'll have to look at those sides. The consensus, it's one problem. The other thing, we'll look at the economic reasons. So the consensus, we can talk about technology, how we arrive at an agreement, right? The economic reasons, one of them is the slow transaction. So if we're talking about the internet of value, where we can transfer value from one person to another, when you're opening a website, you don't want to use 5 seconds to load the website. You want to open the website and on the go. Let's say, for example, I want to open CoinMarketCap. On the go, I'm getting I'm getting what I want. So it's not supposed to take a lot of time, right? Let's continue. So the fees, you already know the fees. What about privacy? If Bitcoin will be a currency, then the privacy has to be there. What about immutable transactions? Is there a system of records in Bitcoin? What about if something goes wrong, there's someone commits a fraud? How do we solve those? There is no customer support to call in Bitcoin. What about if you sent your money to a wrong address? Or you bought something and the person did not? Who are you going to charge back? All these are problems. Though Bitcoin may not solve them, but companies around that are coming up may try to solve them. What about the issue of tax filing? Because how do you file for tax? Those are the things. What about the transactions? How do we know who is making the transaction? How do we know that they're not using this transaction for money laundering? How do we know? Because listen, there are times people don't understand, oh, we're bringing a digital currency, nobody can stop it. It's true. But what about if the person, because things themselves are not bad. When you have a gun, guns don't kill people. It is people that kill people. Guns don't kill people. You're not going to see the gun, it's not going to come and start shooting himself. It is people that kill people. So the question is, how do we know? Because we're trying to make our world more prosperous. We're trying to make our world more peaceful. We're trying to make every person comes to a standard of living where at least the average person is living well. What about the things like security, our security? What about if the person that is trying to fund terrorism, trying to fund a project that will destroy lives? Are we not going to stop that? Those are the things that we have to consider when we are building systems, right? Now the question is the merchant's acceptance and holders' willingness to spend. Now, who is going to accept Bitcoin? That is one of the things. Considering all these problems, the slow transactions, the fees and all that, who is going to accept? Who is what are the merchants that will accept these things? So if Bitcoin cannot solve these problems, the companies that are coming around, they should be able to solve those problems. So the solving of this problem or the failure to solve this problem will determine the success or the failure of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The question is, who is willing to spend? As you can see here, the $10,000 pizza. Sorry, it's actually 10,000 BTC. The 10,000 BTC pizza. Now, there are a lot of people who said, when you look at it, this guy, he actually, because there was a time where Bitcoin was $20,000, and they are saying that guy is really a foolish person to have used 10,000 Bitcoin to buy pizza. How much is 20,000? That is 200 million. Now the question is, Bitcoin has finite numbers. It's a kind of a deflationary currency. So there is this fear among people, like, if I spend my Bitcoin today, my Bitcoin is worth X. Tomorrow it could be worth Y. So I will become a loser. So no, I would rather start spending my dollar. I will not. So people are not using Bitcoin for anything. So as people are not willing to spend Bitcoin, because if there's a growing demand to spend Bitcoin, this is what I believe. If there is a growing demand to spend Bitcoin, it's going to actually meet the growing demand to accept Bitcoin. So it's a two-sided problem. Who will accept it? There are many reasons, like it's too volatile. The process of accepting Bitcoin is too cumbersome. How do you get into Bitcoin? How do you exit from Bitcoin? Those are the many things. If you look at Bitcoin today, how you get into Bitcoin is through the dollars. How do you exit? You have to exit through something like Coinbase. There are no merchants apart from Coinbase and all that. Okay. The other issue is the issue of centralized mining. Yeah, mining is centralized. Accept it or not, mining is centralized. So gone are those days where you can mine Bitcoin with your normal PC. What about the future incentives? Because you talk about cryptocurrency now, there is this thing called the halving, where it becomes increasingly difficult for Bitcoin to be mined. And a few years from now, it's going to all the Bitcoin will be mined. Now, when all the Bitcoin gets mined, what will be the incentive of having a mining farm? Who will be there to support the authorization of transactions? Now, you already see that with the current BTC farms that are shutting down because of there are no transactions. You're already hearing that they are shutting down BTC mining farms. Why? Because there is no more transactions going on and all that. So it's no more profitable to obtain BTC to mine BTC in the short term. Though there are persons who are still coming in or who are still keeping up the mining. So those are some of the things you have to consider, the incentives. Now the other thing again is the BTC decoupling. Now you heard recently that Binance. So you can see Binance is set to launch in Uganda. So you can see there is this offering of fiat. So no more. It takes a little time. You saw Bitcoin came on the scene for us. So Bitcoin became the first the first project to actually help with the transfer of value. Now Bitcoin was being used to transact. Then Ethereum came on the scene. So Ethereum came on the scene. We began to use Ethereum to actually transact between one currency and the other. And then there are exchanges that now said, okay, let's use something like Tether. So they began to use Tether to actually transact. And now the fiat is coming. Now you are seeing other stable currency are actually coming. Now, it's a very simple solve. Once this BTC decoupling comes in, once the decoupling comes in, it's going to actually affect BTC. Now, what are the other things? Stable coins. Now, stable coins are actually coming in. Crypto is too volatile. Please consider all these stuff. Now, Another problem why Bitcoin is doomed to fail is the issue of governance. I don't see a society where there are no leaders. You cannot have a society where there are no leaders. The leader could be, you heard the story, you have the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's true. That is why you have in government, we have a leader. Someone must lead. Someone must lead. In Israel, you have the prime minister. In other countries, you have prime ministers, you have presidents, you have the Senate House. You have the European Commission, you have the presidents in these European nations, you have them have their own parliament. Bitcoin is not like that. It's a kind of decentralized way that anybody you disagree, you leave. It's like you have a country, you don't agree with the rules. Well, I'm going to form my own country. I'm detaching. The question is, there will be no country. You see the US, for example. The US is a kind of country where the states consist of 55 states, if I'm not mistaken. Over 50 states. And all of them are living together. Though we had the time where California wanted to exit the US because of the Trump election and all that, but they still came back. So there are things you have to consider. How do we govern? How do we reach governance in the Bitcoin system? Who is in charge of Bitcoin development? That is one of the things you have to consider. Who is in charge? Then the other thing again is crypto insurance for the individuals and for the exchanges. If an exchange gets hacked, what happens? You are seeing the issue of Bitstorm getting hacked. You're seeing Bitfinex. You're seeing Bitfinex hack. And all this stuff. Listen. These are the things you have to consider. This money was stolen. Does Bitcoin has a mechanism for actually reversing a transaction? Let's say this. Immutable transactions, like someone stole the Bitcoin. How do we trace who stole the Bitcoin? It's very hard, right? So when we're considering things, we should consider the two sides of things. Okay, the next thing is scaling issue. Can Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies scale? Can it scale in the market size? Not those who are buying Bitcoin now, not those who are buying Bitcoin. Can it scale for adoption? 1 year from now, how many people will be accepting Bitcoin? How many people will be willing to be spending Bitcoin on a daily basis? So when we're talking about scaling, we're talking about the technology side, how fast transactions will be. Network effect, like how many people will be using this stuff, not how many people will be buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin will soon be something like gold. You saw gold. Gold has been there since time memorial. But how many people have their hands on gold? What benefit is gold to as many people? But you can see the companies like Facebook. You can see platforms like Visa card. Sorry. You can see Facebook. You can see platforms like Visa card, MasterCard, Amazon, all these companies, Google, doing one thing or the other to help us. Google, for example. So if we don't want Bitcoin to be like just gold, oh, Bitcoin is a gold, a kind of digital gold, then we have to sit down and analyze things. Okay, what's the next thing? The next thing is hype versus reality. Oh, this is where the problem is. There is so much hype around blockchain. There is so much hype around Bitcoin. There is too much hype. The other thing again is the expectation. As someone it's very, very annoying. Someone invested $100 in 2 short time, in 1 year, or even in 6 months, they want that $100 to be $10,000. Well, when you are making such gains, when those such gains are coming, expect that it's going to blow up. When you go on CoinMarketCap, many of these companies, many of these companies, many of them have gotten an increase in value that does not correspond with the reuse of their platform. The token may be increasing, but the company, we're not seeing things like products that are making them money, products that people are using. We're not seeing that, but yet the token is increasing. Rome destroyed itself. So blockchain people may soon, if you don't take care, destroy themselves. So the hype versus reality. The other thing again is the expectations. I've talked about that. And then the other thing again is the YouTubers and blog. Let's go on YouTube and let's type cryptocurrencies, or let's type Bitcoin. There are tons of videos, but if you watch most times, it's all hype. It's all hype. To the moon. This and that. This and that. What is the next thing? ICOs. The next thing is ICOs. ICOs are good, ICOs are bad. What about if we bring a model where for someone to get funding, they get, do you know what ICOs are? Give us your Ethereum, we'll exchange your Ethereum for dollars, and then we'll give you coins. What is the coins? Coins are not equity in the company. Yeah. There are only few cryptocurrencies that maybe they do transactions or they make the gains. Like only few of them. Like let's say KuCoin, where if they are making transactions like KuCoin, where is KuCoin? KuCoin, where if the profits that comes from the system, they share it to you, or will be, and all that. Then maybe Binance. Apart from that, so when you look at the space, the ICOs, these people that are launching platforms, we give them our money. But the question is, what do they give us in return? What are they giving us in return? They're giving us coins. So if there is no hype to back up the value, to give those coins value, they die down. Yeah, because the utility is not there. So ICOs will actually destroy the future of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. They are good in a sense, and they are bad in a sense. So we'll have to figure out how we do ICOs. Then the other thing again is the greater food theory. Now, what is a greater food theory? The greater food theory is simply, I buy X at Y time, and then I expect to sell X at Z time to Mr. B. So this guy buys this guy. So this guy buys this guy at X time, and then this guy expects to sell this to this at Y time. Cryptocurrencies have, most of them has no value, and the greater food theory is going to make this stuff to die down. So we look at why BTC and other cryptocurrency are likely to succeed in another video. Now, when you look at some of the cryptocurrency projects that are trying to really solve some issues, if you look at, this is only financial advice. If you look at many cryptocurrencies, you will see something like EOS has its own pros and cons. I want to talk about EOS. I want to talk about Ripple. I want to talk about Ethereum. And then I want to talk about NEO. Just want to give a very quick overview of these platforms. Okay, what is EOS in a nutshell? EOS is simple. EOS wants to solve the scalability problem. How do we arrive at 100,000 trons per second? Now, the that thing again is EOS says, how do we bring a situation where, in case of fraud, how do we bring transaction recourse? Like, how do we reverse transactions in the case where certain parameters are not met? If you lose your private keys, how do we go about that? How do we go about that such that you can recover your funds? Now, it has its own pros and cons. How do we create platforms that has zero fees? How do we create systems that or addresses that are human readable? These are the vision of EOS. Now, if you look at EOS, it has its own problems. Every platform has its own problems. You can see the arbitration that happened recently where some block producers did some things wrong and all that. So it's still a common platform. It may fail, it may succeed. There are two things in life. Something either fails or something either succeeds. The next one I want to talk about is Repo. So Repo has many products. We have XVR, XRapid, XCurrent, and many of that. How do we help banks? How do we help people do remittance, transfer money? How do we replace old protocols and bring new protocols to the space? So that is the future of SRP. So how do we bring all these stuffs? How do we make cryptocurrencies? How do we make blockchain so useful to the world? That is what SRP is all about. And the last thing again is Ethereum. So Ethereum is, how do we make blockchain such a way that it goes beyond transactions? We build smart contracts, we build decentralized applications that nobody can stop. And it has been very, very successful. So you can go down the rabbit hole and start digging why Ethereum is very successful. Now, this is an article I actually wrote why Ethereum is winning the Web 3.0, the Web 3.0 war. And I gave some of the reasons on why I think they are winning. Now, there are many platforms. Some of them are focusing on this or that. So Ethereum is doing something very, very good. And then we have NEO. So NEO is doing something special, especially from China. And it's, if you look at what NEO is doing, it's very, very, very revolutionary. Wait, how do we bring a kind of smart economy? That is what NEO is all about. And NEO has been very successful the last year. And then there are many cryptocurrencies who are involved in one thing or the other. But one of the things about the blockchain space is that there is something called the Bitcoin maximalist that sees no good in any other project but only Bitcoin. And it's a very, very big problem when a person sees only good in themselves and wrong in others. So let me know what you think. If these are some of the reasons that will make Bitcoin to be doomed or will make Bitcoin to succeed. In the next video, I'll make a case on why I think blockchain, why Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are likely to succeed. And thanks for watching. Do have a very good day. Bye.